Hello everyone. Today's video from Vietnamese Case Files will cover a shocking case that has shaken the Philippines in recent days. Corrupt officials taking bribes from businesses is nothing new. But an official who is simultaneously a double agent and the queen pin of a scam compound, like Mayor Alice Guo of the Philippines, is something the world has rarely seen. How could she possibly play so many roles at once? And on what basis were investigators able to unearth these earth-shattering secrets hidden in the shadows? In this video, we will retrace every step of Alice Guo, from a kind-hearted mayor to a human trafficking boss, from a symbol of compassion to the woman who has just received the heaviest sentence in Pogo history. A noir-like journey where each layer of disguise is peeled away to reveal a chillingly cold and mysterious figure. If you find this story compelling, please support Vietnamese Case Files by liking and sharing this video. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next gripping case. Late one night in March 2024, the quiet town of Bamban in northern Philippines was shaken by a sudden raid. The Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission stormed a compound located near the municipal hall. What triggered such a large-scale operation? It all began when the Malaysian embassy in Manila received an urgent distress message from a Malaysian citizen. He claimed he was being held inside a labor camp in Bamban and that his life was in immediate danger. Attached to the plea were the camp's coordinates and photos of bruises on his body, proof that he was telling the truth. The information alarmed Philippine authorities. Could a massive human trafficking hub really exist within this small, peaceful town? At the same time, Bamban police received another emergency report. A young Vietnamese man had escaped by climbing over a wall and ran straight to the station, terrified, claiming he had just fled from the same compound. Two cries for help, one from inside, one from outside, became the spark that illuminated a long-hidden nightmare. Acting on the reports, the Special Operations team coordinated with local police and raided the compound that very night. Initially, they thought it might simply be an illegal pogo site, an underground online gaming and gambling operation. But once they broke through the gates, investigators froze at the site before them under the cold neon lights. Hundreds of people, men and women of various nationalities, were crammed into rows of rooms packed with bunk beds. Faces hollow, terrified, some still showing fresh bruises from punishments. Soft sobbing mixed with groans of pain echoed through the suffocating air. Scattered everywhere were computers, phones, notebooks, the signature tools of online scam operations. Alarmingly, several Chinese and Filipino guards immediately fled as authorities stormed in. In that moment, investigators realized they had just uncovered a massive scam factory operating right under the nose of the town's leadership. But who was behind this place? That question haunted everyone as they turned their eyes toward the towering Bamban Municipal Hall, standing only 100 meters away in the night. Right after the raid, the top priority was identifying and rescuing the victims. More than 700 people were saved, including citizens of at least 7 countries: the Philippines, China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Taiwan, Indonesia, and even Rwanda in Africa. These numbers revealed the shocking scale of the crime and raised a painful question. Who could possibly have the power to run such a vast scam camp, operating openly in broad daylight like this? As the inspection continued, police kept uncovering more unexpected findings. Behind the crowded rows of dormitories was an entire estate fitted with full amenities for criminal operations, including a multi-story office building, luxury villas, a garage of high-end cars, a cellar of imported liquor, and even a large open-air swimming pool in the middle of the compound. It resembled a miniature paradise built for a crime boss rather than a workplace. In one corner of the property, investigators found enclosures for ornamental turtles, an unusually lavish hobby along with crates of expensive cognac, further proving that those running the operation were living in extreme luxury. Above ground was already shocking, but beneath the surface lay even more disturbing secrets. Upon close inspection, authorities discovered a fortified hideout room and 3 underground tunnels dug deep into the ground, leading out to a vacant lot outside the compound. This revealed that the masterminds had pre-planned escape routes in case anything went wrong. More importantly, the tunnels led directly to a plot of land registered under the sitting mayor at the time, Alice Guo. This revelation stunned everyone. But the most direct evidence came from documents seized at the scene. When searching the main office, investigators found corporate paperwork for the company operating the compound. On paper, the business was named Zun Yuan Technology Incorporated, a POGO-registered entity. And the chairperson of the board was none other than Mayor Alice Liel Guo. Additionally, many of the luxury assets seized within the estate were registered in Alice's name, confirming her deep connection to the crimes committed there. So what exactly was Alice's role in this operation? And how long had it been going on? Beyond fraud, what other atrocities were hidden inside this compound? Immediately after the raid, Senator Risa Hontiveros, known for her uncompromising stance against human trafficking, called on the Senate to intervene. In May 2024, the Philippine Senate formed a special investigative committee and summoned Alice Guo for a public hearing. It was also the first time the mayor appeared before the public since the raid, so all eyes were fixed on her. Entering the hearing room, Alice tried to maintain her composure behind her gold-rimmed glasses. However, under the senator's rapid-fire questioning, she began to show signs of panic. The senators started by probing her background instead of diving straight into the compound case, as rumors were spreading that the mayor might have Chinese origins or worse, that she was an operative for Beijing. Alice hesitantly answered that she was born at home but doesn't remember where, and that she was raised on a pig farm in Bamban. When asked which school she attended as a child, she claimed she never went to public school and was homeschooled by a private tutor named Rubelin until the end of high school. This bizarre answer stunned the entire room. A quick check showed no teacher named Rubelin in local records, and former acquaintances recalled that in the early 2000s, Alice could barely speak Filipino or English, suggesting she likely did not grow up in the town. Her inconsistent and awkward responses turned her into an object of public ridicule. On Philippine social media, people began calling her My Amnesia Girl, referencing a famous romantic comedy character who loses her memory. But for the senators, this was no laughing matter. They suspected Alice was hiding something far more serious. Senator Hontiveros eventually confronted her directly with a harsh question. Was this mayor who claimed to be born on a pig farm, homeschooled, and never attended university actually a Chinese spy? And beyond that, what other roles did she play? Money laundering queenpin? Protector of human trafficking and scam syndicates? Was none of it true, or was all of it true? The direct question made Alice turn pale. She firmly denied any betrayal of the country and insisted in Tagalog before national television. I am not a spy, I am Filipino, and I love my country. Alice then explained that she avoided answering questions about her background because of a painful secret, and like a scene straight out of a melodrama, she choked up and claimed she was an illegitimate child of a Chinese father and a Filipina domestic helper. She added that she was ashamed to tell the world that her birth mother had abandoned her. That, she said, was why her statements had been evasive. But this soap opera-style story failed to sway the public. In reality, she provided no evidence that her mother was Filipina. Instead, investigators traced her biological parents and confirmed they were fully Chinese nationals, Guo Jianzhong and Lin Wenyi. Moreover, her mother was not a domestic helper at all. She had even co-invested in a company with Alice in Bulacan years earlier. By the end of the hearing, although the full truth was still unclear, suspicion was increasingly centered on Alice Guo. Meanwhile, the criminal investigation at the compound uncovered crucial developments. Many suspects arrested during the late-night raid revealed valuable information. Most of them were Chinese managers overseeing the scam camp, along with several armed guards. At first, these individuals tried to deny everything, but their testimonies contradicted each other so badly that they ended up exposing themselves. Eventually, all of them admitted the same thing. The compound had been built to operate illegal services including online gambling, investment scams, and cryptocurrency fraud. Some Filipino staff testified that the Baofu company had once received official approval from the Bamban Municipal Council to operate as a legal POGO, but its license was revoked by PAGCOR, the state gambling regulator, in the year 2022. Despite losing its license, the compound continued operating underground from then until the day of the raid. And such bold defiance would have been impossible without someone in government providing protection or clearing the way. Investigators also discovered that during this period, Mayor Alice repeatedly visited the compound, claiming she was inspecting construction work or assisting with administrative requirements. Therefore, she could not claim ignorance. Not to mention the fact that, despite denying involvement, Alice had personally led inauguration ceremonies for several facilities inside the compound in the year 2022, and had introduced Chinese investors there to local officials. From these findings, investigators grew increasingly convinced that Alice Guo was the true boss behind the entire operation. Their confidence solidified when they dug into the history of this pogo network and learned that this was not the first time it had been raided. As early as February 2023, criminal investigators had unexpectedly inspected a pogo facility in Barangay Anupul Bamban, catching 850 foreign and Filipino workers on site under a company called Hongsheng, the former name of Baofu. At that time, Alice Guo had only been in office for half a year and was already under suspicion. But she arrived aggressively, vehemently denied any involvement, and declared that she did not know the company's leadership. Alice insisted it was merely a project developed by Chinese investors who leased local land and that she did not interfere. Thanks to the lack of conclusive evidence, she escaped suspicion then. Shortly afterward, Baofu rebranded itself as Zunyuan, resumed recruitment, and expanded its operations. This brazenness showed that Alice Guo was confident she could outsmart the law. Investigators now believe Alice had operated the network for years. Together with her Chinese accomplices, she set up front companies initially to run pogo operations, later expanding into online fraud, a business model extremely lucrative in the world of transnational cybercrime. With that ambition in mind, Alice's campaign for mayor was simply a way to gain full control over the area. Indeed, in the year 2022, she spent aggressively on her campaign, arriving at rallies in a pink-striped helicopter, hosting elaborate fireworks shows, and even bringing in live DJs to excite the crowd. Her strategy of buying favor ultimately paid off. Alice narrowly won with 42.98% of the vote, beating her closest opponent by fewer than 500 votes. To investigators, the rise of someone with foreign roots and unclear background into a mayoral seat so quickly suggested she had backing from powerful external criminal networks. With all the evidence and intelligence gathered, Philippine prosecutors decided to act. In June 2024, the Office of the Ombudsman issued a 6-month preventive suspension order against Mayor Alice Guo to investigate her alleged involvement in illegal pogo operations. At the same time, the Commission on Elections opened a case to examine her nationality after fingerprint records and documents she had previously submitted were found to be falsified. Yet even facing exposure, Alice remained defiant. She declared she would not resign and would still run for mayor in the next term, despite being firmly targeted by investigators. So who is Alice Guo really? According to the investigation, her Chinese name is Guo Huaping, born on the 31st of August, 1990 in Fujian Province, China. She came from a well-off Chinese family, with both parents being business people, not domestic helpers, as she claimed. In the year 2008, when Alice was around 18, her family first appeared in the Philippines under a special investor's resident visa, meaning they bought their way into residency through investment. This alone showed they were wealthy enough to afford such a program. However, instead of openly pursuing naturalization, it seems her parents planned a different path for their daughter, crafting a fake identity as a local-born Filipino. A new birth certificate was created for Alice, listing her birthplace as Tarlac Province, Philippines. Her parents' identities on the document were also rewritten as Filipino. From then on, the Chinese girl carried 2 parallel identities, Guo Huaping in Chinese records, and Alice Lael Guo, a supposed Filipino citizen on local documents. This fabricated dual identity explains why Alice's early years are filled with mystery. She claims she grew up on a pig farm in Bamban, but several witnesses stated she only truly arrived in Bamban around the age of 14. A neighbor named Ruben Balagtas recalled meeting Alice for the first time when she was about 14 and said she frequently distributed rice and supplies to poor families in the area. This suggests that Alice and her family had intentionally been cultivating goodwill in the community from early on. Regarding her education, Alice did not attend public school. Instead, she was sent to Manila to study at a Chinese international school, which explains why she was not fluent in the local languages during her youth. After those vague early years, she re-emerged in the late 2010s as a young, promising businesswoman. In the year 2019, at not yet 30 years old, she and 2 Chinese associates, Zhang Ruijin and Lin Baoying, founded Baofu Land Development in Tarlac Province. Their initial goal was real estate investment and pogo operations. Notably, Alice's biological parents Guo Jianzhong and Lin Wenyi also held shares in several related companies, proving that her family was actively supporting her business operations. With significant financial resources, Alice had little difficulty purchasing large tracts of land in Bamban and the surrounding areas. She owned an impressive list of assets, including at least 9 properties in Marilao, Bamban, and Capiz, worth more than 20 million pesos, 3 dump trucks valued at 2 million pesos each, and a Robinson helicopter that she later sold to a British firm for 60 million pesos. Behind this massive fortune, investigators believe Alice was tied to international criminal organizations, likely Chinese scam syndicates seeking operational hubs in the Philippines. Senator Hontiveros even suspected she had been trained like an agent planted inside the Philippine government. Surprisingly, this seemingly far-fetched suspicion was not without basis. Between the years 2020 and 2021, Alice joined the powerful NPC party to build a legitimate political facade. In October 2021, she filed her candidacy for mayor of Bamban as an independent, though she was quietly backed by several figures within the NPC. To boost her credibility, she publicly campaigned for presidential candidate Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and vice presidential candidate Sara Duterte, hoping to prove she was loyal to Philippine interests. No one knew the true source of the money behind Alice's campaign, only that it was lavish beyond imagination, with private helicopters, fireworks displays, and extravagant musical events. Ultimately, Alice Guo won the election and took office on the 30th of June, 2022. From there, she officially began her 2-year reign over Bamban. As mayor, Alice crafted an image of a modern-day Robin Hood. She funneled money into charity efforts, gave generously to the poor, and handed out gifts during holidays and festivals. Benefiting from her generosity, locals adored her, yet they knew almost nothing about her true identity, until everything came crashing down. Investigators now believe Alice Guo's primary motive was financial gain. In a short period, her network earned tens of millions USD through international scam operations, not to mention revenue from online gambling. However, for some Philippine national security officials, the greatest concern was her potential political motive, as they suspected that the scam hubs she operated might have ties to Chinese intelligence activities. Adding to the alarm, Bamban is situated near Clark Air Base, where US rotational forces are stationed. The presence of a massive Chinese-run facility right next to an American military site was clearly a national security nightmare. Although no direct evidence has yet shown that classified information was funneled from the Philippines to Beijing, the suspicions alone were enough to send shockwaves through the political arena. After all, what would happen if they continued overlooking Alice, allowing her to climb deeper into Philippine politics? The consequences would be unimaginable. By August 2024, with a complete body of evidence in hand, Alice Guo was officially removed from her position as mayor for gross misconduct. Around the same time, the Manila court began processing a complaint declaring Alice a Chinese national and issued an arrest warrant for her in connection with human trafficking. Realizing she had no way out, Alice quietly fled. On the 17th of July 2024, she secretly left the Philippines, reportedly flying through Malaysia and then to Singapore. Her escape only strengthened the belief that she was guilty. An international manhunt was launched, capturing the attention of the entire Southeast Asian region. Interpol issued a red notice for Guo Huaping, also known as Alice Guo. The Philippine government also notified China's Ministry of Public Security, requesting cooperation should Alice attempt to return to China. Unexpectedly, Alice avoided setting foot in China, likely fearing prosecution for other crimes, or even the possibility of being silenced to cover up loose ends. In early September 2024, through intelligence leads, Philippine authorities discovered she was hiding in Jakarta, Indonesia, under the guise of a tourist. On the 3rd of September 2024, Indonesian police raided the hotel where Guo was staying and successfully arrested her. Just 2 days later, Alice Guo was deported back to the Philippines on the same flight as Philippine operatives. From that moment, the fallen queenpin began her life behind bars, awaiting judgment. Upon arrival in Manila, Alice was detained at the Pasig City Jail and charged with multiple crimes. The main case, handled by the RTC Pasig Court, involved organized human trafficking connected to the scam compound in Bamban. In addition, she faced numerous other charges: money laundering, embezzlement of public funds in Bamban, falsification of documents, and violations of corporate law for establishing fake companies in Bulacan. A separate petition to cancel her citizenship and annul her birth certificate was also filed before the Tarlac court. It became clear that the Philippine government was determined to expose every wrongdoing tied to Alice Guo, turning her into a landmark example of political corruption in the country. For her part, Alice continued to deny all allegations. Throughout the investigation, she refused to cooperate or provide additional testimony. Observers believe she was either fiercely loyal to the criminal syndicate behind her or terrified that dark forces would eliminate her if she dared to speak. Nevertheless, even without Alice's confession, the mountain of objective evidence was more than enough to reconstruct her entire criminal operation. Alice Guo stood as a quintessential double-faced figure. Outwardly, a people-friendly mayor, yet internally the nerve center of a transnational criminal network funding the scam complex, bribing officials to expand operations, and acting as its protector to ensure no one dared interfere. Ultimately, the truth about her scam empire was exposed not by authorities alone, but by her own victims who spoke out with undeniable force. On the 20th of November, the Pasig Regional Trial Court, Manila, convicted Alice Guo of organized human trafficking and sentenced her along with 7 co-defendants to life imprisonment. The sentence also imposed a fine of 2 million pesos per person and ordered compensation for the victims who came forward. This is considered a landmark ruling in the Philippines, marking the first time the country successfully applied the provision targeting those who organize human trafficking operations, not just those directly carrying out the crime. In court, Alice Guo remained cold and emotionless. She did not plead guilty and insisted she had been wronged. However, her claims were dismissed in the face of overwhelming evidence. Representatives from the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission revealed they had uncovered proof of a reward and punishment system established by Alice's group. Specifically, those who performed successful scams were rewarded with cash, alcohol, and privileges, while those who resisted were starved or beaten. Therefore, Alice's defense counsel had no viable argument. Due to the sensitivity of the case involving multiple nationalities, the identities of the 7 co-defendants were not publicly disclosed. It is only known that both Chinese and Filipino individuals were involved in operating the scam compound. All of them received life sentences equal to Alice's, indicating their significant role as active co-conspirators. Deputy Prosecutor Olivia Torrevillas revealed that 4 defendants were convicted for directly committing human trafficking acts, while Alice Guo and 3 others were convicted of organizing human trafficking, a far more serious offense. This confirmed that the court viewed Alice as the mastermind who oversaw the entire operation. Several victims present in the courtroom embraced and wept as the verdict was announced, tears of relief after months of desperately seeking justice. Outside the courtroom, Senator Risa Hontiveros, who had followed the case from the beginning, said, "This ruling is not only a legal victory, but a moral victory. Justice has been served for the victims, and it reaffirms our firm stance against organized crime." After the hearing, Alice Guo was transferred to the Mandaluyong Women's Correctional Facility to begin serving her life sentence. The case also accelerated the nationwide crackdown on scam networks. Immediately after Alice's syndicate was exposed, President Marcos Jr. ordered a complete ban on all pogo operations in the country and deported large numbers of Chinese nationals involved in the industry. In addition, 35 officials in Tarlac province were placed under investigation for enabling the illegal land conversions linked to Alice's Pogo project. Among the public, Alice Guo's trial has been compared to the trial of the century in the Philippines involving foreign criminal activity. Major newspapers ran headlines such as "Spy Mayor Sentenced to Life," emphasizing the bizarre nature of the case, "A Chinese woman posing as a Philippine mayor while running a human trafficking ring right beside the local Phodian's government hall." International media also covered the story extensively. Major outlets like Reuters, AP, BBC, and Al Jazeera reported on it, calling Alice Guo a Chinese spy mayor. The Guardian even produced a full investigative feature on Alice while she was still on the run, describing her as the mysterious woman with a fascination for pet turtles and a pink-striped helicopter. What about you? Do you believe Alice was truly an undercover operative planted by China in the Philippines? Or is that theory the result of political paranoia among certain officials? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and turn on notifications to follow Vietnamese case files in the upcoming videos. That's all for today. See you next time.